I recently got gifted a copy of a game called Legendary Tales, and I have to say, I'm somewhat impressed. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Legendary Tales, it's an RPG dungeon crawler where you fight through floors filled with skeletons and goblins. With the further you go down, the harder it gets. And you choose what weapons you want to use to fight back against the legions of undead. You can use swords, daggers, axes, bows, hell, you can even become a wizard. What I'm trying to say is that there's a lot you can choose from. You get to choose what playstyle suits you. When I first went into the game, I wasn't too sure what to expect. And after checking YouTube, there wasn't really a lot of videos on it. Only video that was remotely helpful was a video by Happy147, which really surprised me because there's a lot of good things about this game. And in saying that, there's some things that could be worked on. So in this video, I'm going to list off all the good things I really like about this game. And at the end of the video, I'm going to share some things that could use some improvement. And I just want to say I'm fully aware this game's in alpha, and everything is subject to change. Without further ado, let's get into the video. The way the game handles its combat is by far its strongest feature. With the combat being physics based and having 3 main types of attack, makes and keeps the game feeling fresh. You can bludgeon, slash and pierce your enemies. All these attacks have their pros and cons. And what really makes the combat worthwhile is easily its parrying mechanic. Combine that with the sounds of the sword clashing against another sword, it's by far the most satisfying thing in the game. And I just want to say, for people who think they can just jump into the game and just destroy everything in sight, that's not going to happen. This game is really hard. In fact, I would say it's just the Dark Souls of VR. And I just want to say that is not a discredit to the developers. If anything, it should be taken as a compliment. Trying to memorize the enemy's attack patterns and their speed is really difficult, especially because there's quite a few of them. When you combine that with the game's level design, there's not going to be one solution for everything. If you're in a corridor, a greatsword won't be as effective. If you're surrounded in an open room, a single-handed sword isn't going to be as effective as a greatsword. In this game, every weapon type has their pros and cons. Once you get an understanding how the weapons work and how parrying works, things start to get really interesting. And what do I mean by that? This game just becomes stupidly fun. There's something about comboing your attacks after a parry is just so satisfying to do. And I cannot see myself getting bored of that anytime soon. I'd go as far as saying that the game's combat can be on par and can be better than Blade and Sorcery's. For anyone who's been playing VR for any length of time knows that Blade and Sorcery's combat mechanics is really good, and it's going to be really exciting to see what they're going to do with this throughout the game's development. So I'm not sure if the levels are pre-designed or randomly generated, but so far every time I've gone through a new level and replayed the level, it feels completely different from when I last played it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying every room is unique. A lot of rooms are reused and used in different ways, which I can very much appreciate. I don't find myself hating specific rooms since they're all used in their own unique ways. It's really down to how the player plays that really defines how bad or how good a certain room is. As someone who likes using two-handed swords, I find hallways to be my absolute bane of existence. The game forces me to change my fighting style by limiting the space available to swing my weapon. This is a great example on how to do good level design that goes against the player but not be frustrating to deal with. In saying that, I don't think they need to do anything else with the level design. However, one thing I don't particularly like is the climbing sections. In certain parts of the dungeon, you might have to start climbing in order to get to your destination. I personally believe the climbing is an unneeded feature in this game. It's more annoying than anything else. And there's zero risk to falling in this game. You don't take any fall damage when you miss a ledge or if you didn't grip something properly, which does happen a lot. For the most part, the game is really responsive when it comes down to grabbing things, but there's times where it just completely ignores you. There's been times where I've fallen from really high ledges just because the game didn't register my grab at all. Then I'm spending the next few minutes climbing back up that same rope. I think they should add alternate routes for people who don't want to climb in this game because it can be very frustrating and it can just break the pacing of the game completely. And I can only imagine the climbing section gets harder as you go down as well. The furthest I've gotten down was floor 5, and I found the climbing section just to be annoying and not fun whatsoever. One thing I would love to see is rooms that are just pitch black and you have to carry a torch in order to see where you're going. The thought of carrying a torch in your offhand while holding a sword in your other just sounds really cool, to be honest. Little things like that can just really change how the game would feel and play altogether. The game has like two main enemies you'll be dealing with, which are goblins and skeletons, with the skeletons being the most common out of the two. There are a few side enemies like bats and mimics, which are just chests from Dark Souls. They do have plans to add more enemies, which I hope will be more common when it comes down to variety. I can imagine after playing a certain amount of time, fighting these two enemies over and over again can just be really repetitive and boring. I'd love to fight stuff like mages and zombies. I think that would really do well for the game's setting. Even just adding possessed knights can give the game a lot of variety. When it comes down to enemies' intelligence, they're not smart, but they're not exactly dumb either. Well, sometimes they're not. I've had a lot of incidents where the enemies tend to like fight against each other, where they get in each other's way so they can't swing. It's kind of like a race on who can kill you first. Granted, this does make the game a lot more difficult because they're all swinging at you. Unfortunately, however, this works against itself a lot of the time because enemies can block other enemies from swinging, meaning they'll do no damage within the animation. And I just want to say, I don't think there's a difference between amount of enemies within the co-op and the single player, which wouldn't be an issue. However, as I said previously, this game is really hard, and it really looks like they made this game more co-op orientated than single player. There's times that I've had to really cheese the enemies in order just to have a fighting chance because there's just so many of them. And I do think that can potentially become a problem, especially for players who want to play solo instead of playing with other people, because some people generally just prefer playing by themselves. And I understand that some people actually might enjoy that because it's challenging. I personally love that this game is challenging and that it's hard to play when you're by yourself. But I can't see everyone enjoying this because it just seems unfair and a little bit pushy towards the co-op side. I really think that people who want to play the solo mode should have the option to be able to change how much damage the enemy does or how much health they have. Or even make it so they don't have to fight a cluster of 8 enemies all at once. Apart from that, I really don't have anything else to say about the enemies other than I hope they add a lot more variety to them. This game has huge potential to be one of the best dungeon crawlers in the VR market. I was actually somewhat shocked not knowing about this game anytime sooner, and even more shocked to see how little videos there are about it. These guys have a recipe that is just perfect for VR, and I really hope they continue doing what they're doing with this game because, as I said, this game is amazing. I love it. The real question is should you get this game? So far, at its current price, I think they're asking a lot. With a game costing £30 and $35, I think they're asking quite a lot for an alpha. And there's quite a lot of other VR games you can get for less that are not an alpha. Me personally, I would have waited until this game went on sale. However, I was lucky enough to get this game gifted. If you have £30 or $35 to spend and you don't mind spending a little bit on an alpha, then by all means this game is great. However, if you're worried about spending £30 on a VR game, then wait until it goes on sale. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been supporting my recent videos recently. It means a lot making these videos. I've been having so much fun with them and I'm really glad you all like it. And I want to give a big thanks to the many talented Mr. Jefferson, for he's the one who gifted me this game. He is a great friend and also a great content creator. He streams every day over on YouTube. You should really check him out. I'll leave his link in the description down below. He's practically the only reason why this video was possible. And I just want to say here, a lot of people have been asking me what VR headset I would use, and I just want to say here, I use the Oculus Quest. And again, I just want to say thank you for watching the video. If you have any thoughts on the video, let me know down in the comment section down below. If there's anything you want to see, leave a comment, and if it's not too much to ask, if you can like and subscribe, it means a lot. It tells me that you enjoy this type of content. I also stream over on Twitch, where I play VR games and other games that are not VR. Come say hi. This outro is getting really long, I'm going to end it now.